Okay, this session will help you understand some of the basic components of Microsoft Excel. I will be using Excel 2019 for this tutorial, but the overall look and function is the same as the 2016 version. Let's go ahead and open up Excel. When you first open Excel, you will see the recent Excel files you have been working on the left-hand side of the screen. Excel will also give you several templates to choose from. We will start out by opening a blank workbook. Across the top of the screen, you will see the different tabs that make up the different menu options within Excel. Below the tabs is what Microsoft calls the ribbon. The ribbon presents menu options based on what tab you are under. Within the ribbon are groups, which are closely related commands used to perform larger tasks such as changing your font or aligning your text. If you are familiar with other Microsoft Office applications, then the ribbon is probably already familiar to you. What we have in Microsoft Excel are rows and columns. Columns are identified by letters and rows are identified by numbers. There are 1,048,576 rows and 16,384 columns within Excel. An individual spot where the column and row meet is called a cell. The cell you are currently in will be displayed in the corner of the spreadsheet. For example, this is C5. A group of highlighted cells is called a range. As you advance through Excel, you will understand how cells and ranges can be used to create formulas and functions in order to calculate data. When you click on a cell, whatever is within that cell will be displayed in the formula bar up here. A few other key points before we start working in Excel. The Excel file is called a workbook, so when you are opening up an Excel file, you are opening up an Excel workbook. Within the workbook are sheets, which are these tabs at the bottom. You can add sheets to the workbook by clicking on the plus button. You can also rename the sheet and change their order. Now let's start entering some data. We can use the zoom slider at the bottom right-hand corner of the application to increase or decrease the size of the spreadsheet on the screen. For our example here, I will be manipulating data on the top 10 grossing Marvel movies of all time. So I'm going to create headers for our data, starting with rank, title, domestic, overseas, and year. An easier way to move around in Excel is using the Tab and Enter keys. Clicking the Tab button will move you over to the right, and clicking Enter will move you down. Holding Shift along with clicking either of these keys will move you to the left or back up. You can increase the size of rows and columns by placing your mouse in between them, which will give you a handle. You can then stretch out your columns or rows. One thing to make note of is it does not matter if your data is overlapping. It will have no effect on the function of your spreadsheet. Remember, you will see everything in a cell by looking at your formula bar, even if you cannot see all the data in the individual cells. You can also wrap the text within the cell. If you need to edit a cell, double-click into it. You can also edit the cell by clicking up in the formula bar. If you just highlight the cell and start typing, you will erase your current data within the cell. I am going to stop and enter some more data. So let's do some basic formatting. If you are familiar with Word, then this process will be very familiar to you. If you click on a cell, you can then change the font of the text in that cell. You can also change the formatting of an entire row or column by clicking on that row or column. This will highlight all the cells within the row or column, thus allowing for a quick formatting change across the entire row or column. You can also use the Styles group to make quick formatting changes as well. Let's go ahead and highlight the range of cells containing the domestic and overseas earnings of these movies. We can now format all the amounts within this cell range as currencies by clicking the $ located within the number group of the ribbon under the Home tab. Let's say we want to know the total worldwide earnings of each of these movies. Well, Excel allows us to easily manipulate the data we have already input to find this amount quickly for our entire list of movies. So let's insert a column between the overseas and year columns. To do this, just right-click on column E and click Insert Column. Now we will have an empty column between our overseas and year columns, which we will use to store our worldwide earnings. Now we are going to create a formula that will add the domestic and overseas amounts together to show us the total worldwide earnings of each movie. Anytime we are creating a formula, we will always start off with an equal sign. So let's get Avengers Endgame's worldwide amount first. With cell E2 selected, we will enter an equal sign, followed by C2, which is our domestic earnings for Endgame, followed by plus, followed by D2, which is our overseas earnings for Endgame. We can also click on the cells we want to reference in the formula instead of typing them in. Make note that there are no spaces between the characters in the formula. Once you see that you have equals C2 plus D2 within the cell E2, click your Enter key. E2 should now show the sum of C2 and D2. Notice you cannot see the formula, but rather the results of the formula within E2. To be able to see the formula within a cell, remember to make sure the cell you wish to view is selected and then check the formula bar. The formula bar will always show the formula rather than the results. Now let's duplicate this formula to other movies. Rather than typing in the formula over and over again, we can simply copy the formula for the other movies. To do this, make sure that the cell with the formula you wish to copy is selected. Notice a little square down to the bottom right-hand corner of the selected cell. If you hover your mouse over the square, the cursor will change to a cross. You can left-click and hold while dragging and highlighting over all the cells you wish to copy the formula to. When you release your mouse, the sum of each movie's domestic overseas earnings will appear. Notice that Excel did not simply copy the exact formula from E2. Excel is smart enough to know that we wanted the sum of each movie's domestic and overseas amounts. You will see this as you scroll down each of the worldwide amounts while looking in the formula bar. Avengers Infinity War shows equals C3 plus D3. The Avengers show equals C4 plus D4, and so on. So this shows a little bit of the power Excel has when it comes to calculating entire sheets of data. Another useful feature is the ability to freeze a row or column. This will allow you to be able to view a column or row as you scroll through large sheets of data. To do this, click on the View tab within the ribbon. Under the window group, you will see the option to freeze pans. As you can see, when I select Freeze Top Row, the top row will always be visible as I scroll down the sheet. This is especially useful when working with large sheets of data. One more thing I would like to go over in this session is printing within Excel. Due to the way Excel works with data, printing can become difficult, especially when working with sheets with several columns and rows. Always look at your print preview screen before printing your Excel file. That way you can see what columns or rows you need to adjust in order to get your desired data to show on your printouts. As you can see from our print preview, we are not getting the columns containing the worldwide earnings or the years. So what I am going to do is adjust the size of the columns until I get those columns to fit. You can see that Excel is giving us this dotted line down the column now. This is to let us know that everything on the left-hand side will print out on our 8.5 by 11 sheet of copy paper. And there we go. So now you see it is very important to look at your print preview screen before printing. Excel does not automatically print the grid that your data is in. If you would like grids on your printouts, highlight the entire range of data. With your range highlighted, click the drop-down menu of the Borders option located within the Font group of the Home tab. Then click the All Borders option. Notice now that the grid is more visible around our data. Now let's check our print preview screen. There it is. Now Excel will print out the grid with our data. Thank you for watching the first part of our Microsoft Excel session. And subscribe to our YouTube channel to know when future Excel videos will be released.